just like, hang on a second, this, and that, you know, it's just like, right, so breathe deeply, what's going on? But I was drinking beer on a summer afternoon in a friend's garden, having a barbecue with friends. I knew everybody there. We were close. There was no reason whatsoever to justify a panic attack. And it's possible, it's not something I know enough about, that being so relaxed is what caused the panic attack.
Well, so what's really interesting, and you know, to pick up, if I may, from your example, when the operating system kind of gets it wrong, thinking it's got it right, i.e., telling you to fight or flight from that barbecue, for example.
Yeah.
So those are kind of because of your experiences from the past, whatever they may be, that it's decided that that's part of the learning. The real beauty and why hypnotherapy can be such a great tool for psychotherapy, no matter what area, whether it's birthing, whatever that you actually use this in, is that it is your neocortex at that point, your logical and rational part of you, that is saying, I'm in a friend's garden, I know everyone, you know, everything's great, you know, I'm drinking beer, I'm relaxed, what's the problem? But it is your amygdala, which is the operating system that hasn't been updated, part of what we call your limbic system, or your emotional brain. That is the thing that gets the signals slightly, I mean, we're talking about milliseconds, microseconds, not sure how to put it, but very, very fleetingly gets the messages of the environment, what's happening. It gets all of the sensory experience slightly ahead of time. And so if your amygdala, whatever it's linking it to, rightly or wrongly, decides that you need to feel panicked at that time, then your neocortex is going, what are you doing? Why are you reacting like that? But your amygdala has already got you to react in fight or flight with that panic. Now, the beauty here is that we call it the critical factor, where the amygdala says, you know, there is a threat, and remember that could be perceived threat in front of you. You do not have time to think what you know about this scenario. We need to react now. This is a survival thing. Yeah. It's what we call the critical factor. And so it essentially shuts off the involvement of the neocortex, the logical, rational part of you. The amygdala then has reacted with the panic attack before you know it. However, we know that hypnosis can do, and hypnotic states can do, something called critical factor bypass. Sounds like a really dodgy operation, doesn't it? It's not.
Or one of those software updates they send you for security.
One of those software updates.
We need to do an update and restart the computer.
So what we can do, even with this ancient software of the limbic system, is that we can, during hypnotic states, which I'm sure you probably know, you've obviously got experience there, is an alpha brainwave state. So our brainwaves slow down between 8 and 15 hertz. And it is at that time that we bypass the critical factor. So if you like, we have the ability with hypnosis to stand back and go, hang on here. So this is what your amygdala, your emotional brain, is reacting to. This is what we know logically and rationally. I'm at a friend's barbecue and everything's fine. So what happens is that gap between your perceived threat and perceived ability to cope is kind of, if you like, challenged at both sides. And so it's like, of course I can cope here. I'm perfectly safe. I'm perfectly comfortable. There is no threat. It's just that I had learned maybe years ago that there was something triggered in this situation that meant I felt a threat. So we can relearn what we can do. And thinking back of your iPhone idea, and that absolutely, that's a really good one, is and maybe this is where my technological knowledge stops and ends, but what we can do is change the communication between the apps, or between the software, and actually say, hang on, maybe we need to update this, because our neural pathways that have been established even from threat or trauma in the past can always be changed. They send messages to each other, brain cells, that have to jump across what we call the synaptic gap. And that happens throughout the brain. So if cells are no longer firing together, i.e. this really is threat, this is how we need to respond, i.e. run away very quickly, what will happen is those cells will actually start to join new brain pathways, so that you're no longer reacting with a panic attack in a friend's garden, for example.
Yeah. And it is
what's not useful can be changed.
Absolutely.